And welcome to all viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle here on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Deacon Michael. I'd like to remind you that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365. And now the news. As protests against hunger kicked off nationwide, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, was spotted at the presidential villa in Abuja. Although the topic of their discussion remained unknown this time, the visit is reportedly connected to the hunger protests, which began on Thursday, with the FCT as an epicenter. Now, the national hunger protests entered day 2 with the Federal Capital Territory Center. They started with a minute group of 11 youth driven away from the Federal Secretariat axis of the FCT by the Nigerian Police Force. Our correspondent Anthony Mamoduru has the report.
The August National Hunger Protest, which entered their second day, witnessed smaller number of protesters seen around the Eagle Square axis, insisting they would continue to protest regardless of the intimidation from security agencies. All right, this is the second day of the hunger protest in Nigeria, and we're at the Federal Capital. We're close to the Eagle Square, where was initially planned for the protest, and we're still seeing some Nigerian youths still demonstrating and still protesting the hunger in the land. And so let's get a view of what they think is happening at the second day of the hunger protest.
Well, as for the security agencies, I'll be peculiar with the police in particular, because we were here yesterday and we attempted marching. As you can see, they're coming towards us. I don't know, maybe with the intent to arrest us or to shoot tear gas at us.
All right, that's the situation in the Federal Capital Territory, where the Nigerian Police Force is insisting that this group of protesters moved to the National Stadium to conduct their protest. And you could see the police tactically pushing them away from near the Eagle Square and insisting that they move towards the National Stadium, where the High Court in the Federal Capital Territory has earmarked for the youths to carry out their protest. An interview at the National Stadium, some co-conveners of the protest said the violence witnessed on day 1 was triggered by the actions of the security agencies.
It is unfortunate. There's chemistries of violence that you have, especially in FCT here in Abuja, was caused by the security agencies. The thing about this protest, it must go on. This is day 2. Nigeria must be better. Some of us are coming out, and like I usually say, Nigeria will be better in my lifetime.
We're already seeing hardship that we have never experienced in our life. We had people that are even 50s telling us 60s, telling us this, they have never experienced this kind of hardship. And this banner you are seeing behind me, these are all people that were killed by bandits. Respected people, people that have invested so much in the society. Some of them are politicians also, they have contested. Some of them are security agencies. Some of them are, you see them here. These are just few. These are just few that can make it to the banner. In Zamfara State now, the news doesn't even make the media anymore. We don't even know if they are telling Mr. President the actual truth about what is going on in Zamfara State. Mr. President, Zamfara State is bleeding.
However, for this protester from Zamfara State, the issue of insecurity ravaging the state has been a worrisome one.
For this thing, we don't tire, because no peace for Nigeria. Bandit, they enter our family, our farm, they kill us, so we don't tire.
The Tinubu-led administration has vowed to look into the demands of the #EndBadGovernance protesters, thus leaving the door open for a gradual end of the protest for the good of the citizenry and nation. Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television.
Meanwhile, in Kano State, multitude of security operatives have been deployed across the state to enforce a 24 curfew following violence and looting of private and public properties worth millions of naira during the first day of hunger protests. Our correspondent Idris reports that most residents remain off the streets and indoors as businesses and places of work continue to remain closed. We'll bring that report shortly. And our security forces have fired shots in the air and tear gas to break up protests in states that have imposed curfews as thousands join rallies across the country against the cost of living. All the protesters says they were out on the street to exercise their right to peaceful demonstration without undue interference by the law enforcement agents. A lady, one of the protesters, also shared her experience during the incident. Nigeria is struggling with high-cost food inflation. It's at 40% and fuel is triple the price from a year ago. But many people were also concerned about the insecurity around the protests. Now, one of the organizers of the End Bad Governance Nigerian protests, the Take It Back movement, has condemned attacks by some men of the Nigerian police force on protesters gathered at the Bega roundabout in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Earlier, police officers stationed at the roundabout tear gassed protesters and journalists alike who were gathered at the venue for the second day of the protests. In a short statement, the Director of Mobilization for the Take It Back movement, Damilare Adenola, said the actions of the policemen were a reminder that the administration's claim of upholding the tenets of democracy was nothing but the fake. He stated this regard for human rights will only further provoke the impoverished and hungry Nigerians whom he said wouldn't be silenced. And now the Federal Capital Territory Police Command has called on medical personnel to report anyone with gunshot wounds to the police. The command said it engaged some hoodlums in a fierce gun duel, with many of them escaping with gunshot injuries, adding that the hoodlums had taken advantage of the hunger protests to embark on massive extortion and assault on innocent citizens along the Lube end of the Federal Capital Territory. The Muslim Rights Concern says the ongoing nationwide protest has been hijacked. In a statement, the founder and executive director, Professor Ishaq Akintola, called on the conveners to stop the protests. The hunger protests took place in several states in Nigeria yesterday and today. Although it was peaceful in some states, it became violent along the line in others, with some lives allegedly lost and several buildings and vehicles torched and destroyed. The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center has called on CILSAC for the protections and growing concern that the demonstration have been hijacked by criminals, elements, and political actors with nefarious intentions. Executive Director of the Center, Anwar Rashani, condemned the hijack of the peaceful protests in some places while calling for the protection of protesters. He, however, urged them not to destroy the properties and public infrastructure. The Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, has identified peace as catalyst for the development of any society and called the subject to always pursue the path of peace in channeling grievances. The Emir made the decision while receiving a multitude of protesters who visited him at the Gidan Nasarawa Palace to seek his royal blessing. He said the importance of peace for development cannot be overemphasized, particularly at this trying period. Alhaji Bayero identified with the resolve of the people to express their feelings on matters related to national development. He assured that their grievances will be forwarded to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom he described as a listening leader. The Emir thanked the protesters for the peaceful manner in which they conducted themselves and which them's Allah's guidance. Kebbi State Governor Dr. Nasir Idris has appealed to the organizers of the ongoing End Bad Governance protests in the state to suspend their activities. The governor made the plea while addressing the people of the state on the current state of the nation shortly after an emergency State Security Council meeting. Sharon Najee completes the report.
According to Governor Idris, available intelligence suggests that some unpatriotic elements plan to import mercenaries from outside the state to cause chaos in Kebbi State.
The government of Kebbi State is doing everything possible to address the challenges faced by its people. So therefore, we want to plead with the organizers of this protest to see reason. You only know the beginning of the protest. You will not know how it will end.
The protest has been relatively peaceful in Kebbi State, with only minor incidents of violence reported in some local government area. The governor's appeal aims to prevent potential escalation. As of the time of filing this report, no protest has been recorded in Kebbi State, with people going about their normal businesses. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
The Katsina State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew in the Semina local government area. The Secretary to Government of the state, Alhaji Abdullahi Gabriel, announced the decision in a statement issued in Katsina. According to him, the government under the acting governor, Malam Farouk, has banned unusual gatherings and all types of protests across the state. He explained further that the decision followed an emergency state security meeting convened on the report of a breakdown of law and order in some parts of the state as a result of the nationwide protests. The governor of Jigawa State, Umaru Namadi, imposed a 24-hour curfew following the escalation of violence on the first day of the country's protests. The governor, who announced the curfew in a state broadcast, described the development in the state as unfortunate. The governor, however, approved that the curfew be relaxed on Friday for 2.5 hours to enable worshippers to attend the Jumu'ah's prayer in the mosques. In Borno State, the head of security agencies have announced a temporary relaxation of the curfew imposed in the state to allow Muslims observe the Friday congregation prayers earlier. The police public relations officer assistant superintendent of police Nasura Naun disclosed this in a statement released in Maduguri. He said that the curfew was relaxed as at 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. to enable the Muslims to attend the Jumu'at prayers at mosques closer to their communities. Ogun State Governor Dr. Abiodun has extolled the peace and tranquility across the state, saying the conduct of the people of the state during the first day of the anti-hunger protest was commendable. Abiodun particularly condemned the youth and students for shunning the protest. The governor, in a statement issued on Thursday by its Chief Press Secretary Lekan Aderian, said there was no protest in the state as the youth acting to the advice of the state government not to allow themselves to be used by the frustrated politicians. Kayode Aberchukun, Inspector General of Police, says the police may lean on other security agencies, including the military, if the nationwide protest against hunger escalates. A protest turned violent in certain northern states with looting and vandalism in the order of the day in Kano, Kaduna, Gombe, and Yobe State. The Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company has disconnected the Kaduna Government House over 2.9 billion debt. In a statement signed by the head corporations of communication, Abdulaziz Abdullahi said the government house had not paid for electricity consumed in 7 months. And now Bayelsa State has been thrown into blackout as suspected vandals tampered with 2 transmission towers, the T98 and the T99, which supply power to the state at the Bangori community in Yenogwale government area. The incident has led to the collapse of 2 132 kilowatt lines that transmit electricity to the state from Owerri in Imo State through the Aoda in Rivers State. The governor said the state government was already working with the transmission company of Nigeria to restore power as quickly as possible. Borno State Governor Reverend Father Azint Alia has approved the removal of the chairman of the State Independent Electoral Commission, John Chem. The State House of Assembly had recommended the removal of the SEC chairman. Members accused him of poor judgment, according to the statement issued by its Chief Press Secretary Kaula Terso and made available to journalists in Makodi. The governor had accepted the resolution. You're watching News Cycle coming to you live from Nigeria's capital Abuja. We're on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now shown on the screen. When News Cycle returns, banking sector index unaffected as all the sectors close in red over hunger protests. We'll bring you these and many more stories right after this break. Do stay with us. Many thanks everyone for still staying with us on News Cycle. Now to other news. The Nigerian banking sector was unaffected by losses induced by hunger protests which rocked some part of the country on a trading day that commenced on August 1st, 2023. Tracked by the NGX banking index, price auctions on the sector appreciated by 0.42%, ending at the 804.77 naira from an opening price of 801.43 naira. Daily trading volume on the sector's index remained unfixed, closing at 452.45 million at a value of 6.13 billion, while other sectors struggle with gains. And now to business, motor speed continued today while the port rationed the products released to the marketers. In Abuja, some stations were observed to have been shut, while the few ones that dispensed petrol recorded different levels of fuel queues. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited filling stations along Wuse Zone 1 had long queues of motorists who sought to buy the petrol. Global TV's correspondent was there to bring you some highlights of from NNPC Zone 1. Earlier today. Now, Bayelsa State has been thrown into blackout as suspected vandals tampered with two transmission towers, the T98 and T99, which supply power to the state at the community in the Yenagoa government area. From that, we've first seen President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris hugged journalist Evans as the two other Americans arrived back to the United States soil after being freed by Russia in a huge prisoner swap. The Wall Street Journal, the reporter, former U.S. Marine Paul Williams and journalist Ausu Kamaved were met by cheers from family and friends as they disembarked a plane before each embracing Biden and Harris. They were among the 2 dozen detainees released earlier in the biggest East-West prisoner swap since the Cold War. Now, witness to the Titan submersible disasters talked about the fears and the false hope felt by those on its support ship. The Raleigh Golden was on the expeditions when contact with the sub and its 5 passengers were lost on the drive to the Titanic in June 2023. But after learning the sub had imploded just hours into the dive, he said it was a comfort to know those on board hadn't suffered. Golden was on the Polar Prince support ship to give presentation about the Titanic when the submersible went missing. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has insisted his party is ready to present all the votes tallies from his country's disputed election after election observers said it could not be considered democratic. The National Electoral Council declaration that Maduro won has sparked 2 days of protests, with the country's opposition saying voting tallies showed its candidate, El Munoz, won by the wide margin. Maduro said again that his government's reason for not publicizing the electoral result was because of a hack on the Electoral Council website. And now to spot, the Soviets is receiving a medical treatment after collapsing following a 200 meters melee hit at a defense arena at the Paris Olympics. Portica 21 collapsed by the side of the pool where she was received immediate medical care, including being given oxygen. The Slovakian team stated that the Portica is an asthmatic and had an asthma attack. Portica is conscious and was able to communicate with doctors. She has been taken to hospitals for further medical supervision. Now, Borussia Dortmund announced the signing of the Germany midfielder Pascal Gross from the Premier League club at the Brighton and Hove on a 2-year deal. German media reported Dortmund paid a fee up to 10 million euros, including the bonuses to sign a 33-year-old. A creative midfielder with an eye for goal, Gross joins the Champions League finalists after 7 years, with the Brighton having joined from German side and in 2017. That's a package of a news cycle coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on the screen. I'm Deacon Michael. Many thanks for staying with us on News Cycle. See you shortly by 7 for the Big Talk. Thanks for staying with us.